foods, exciting vendors, family fun, great giveaways, and non-stop.
Yes, that's for sure. You heard that a while ago, and that will be here throughout the day as well. Live promotion for South Valley Street Festival. I want you to be down there for sure to be a part of the action. So, folks, I'm getting ready for a couple of things this morning here on Klass FM. So, in the morning time, we have to get the platform ready for activity, and in a bit I will be joined within the next 20 minutes by Anguilla's Deputy Governor, Perin. So I'm going to present to you a truncated Klass news package. He should be in by 9 this morning because there's House of Assembly as well today. So let's get into a Klass newscast here this morning. But spread the word, Deputy Governor Perin Bradley will join me on the morning deck right here on Klass FM momentarily. It is time for the Klass newscast for this morning. I'm DJ Hammer and I am your presenter. First, a look at the main points of the news. From the local scene, the Royal Anguilla Police Force is offering up to $10,000 for information relating to the arrest and conviction following a homicide in the Blowing Point area. And from the region, strengthening El Nino's on track to become one of the strongest events in the historical record, raising fresh concerns for global shipping just days after Panama Canal announced additional draft restrictions to conserve water ahead of the expected dry season. And Anguillan Jaquan Samuel Sports delivered a superb performance to capture the silver medal in the men's under 23 high jump at the 2026 NACCAC under 18 under 23 championships in Mexico yesterday. This is the Klass FM in the morning time, and now the local news in detail. I will tell you now that the Royal Anguilla Police Force is offering up to $10,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction following a homicide in Blowing Point. Officers received reports of around 7 a.m. Friday, 10th July, of a shooting at the residence that is under construction along the Pondview Road in Blowing Point. On arrival at the scene, they found a 43-year-old man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The victim, who succumbed to the injuries at the scene, was publicly identified on July 11th as Brandon Romney of Blowing Point. The incident marks the 6th homicide in Anguilla for this year. Contestant number 2, Brianna Romney, emerged as the winner of the 2026 Miss Tiny Tot competition, our pageant competition held at Lansing Bowl Cultural Center on Sunday evening, 12th of July. At the end of the evening, Tiny Tot 2026 Brianna Romney cleared the field with 5 contestants, amassing a total of 568 points. Contestant number 3, Eliandra Fonseca, took the first runners-up position, amassing a total of 544 points. Third place was taken by contestant number 4, Cleopatra Lewis. Brianna also won Best Personal Aspiration, Best Career Wear, and Best Recycle Wear segments. Contestant number 5, Miley Mitchell, was adjudged the Best Performing Talent. Miss Tiny Tot Committee extend their sincere gratitude to the general public for coming out in such great numbers to support the Rainbow Princesses in the Miss Tiny Tot pageant. Your presence, encouragement, and enthusiastic applause created a wonderful atmosphere and made the evening even more special for our young contestants. Thank you for celebrating with us and for helping to make this event a memorable experience for every princess. Your support means the world to us at the Tiny Tot, and we look forward to welcoming you again next year. Miss Tiny Tot Committee stated in a terse message to Klass FM radio newsroom yesterday afternoon. The late Leroy Hamilton Richardson Brother Lee has been remembered as a man who used his voice for the upliftment of people and the cultural preservation of the island. In his sermon during the funeral service of the late Leroy Brother Lee Richardson on Saturday, July 11, at the Church of God Holiness, Reverend Lindsay Richardson reflected on his contribution to cultural development, cultural preservation, and radio broadcasting. Klass FM here in the morning.
Today we gather to remember and to give thanks for the life of Leroy Richardson, known and loved by so many as Brother Lee. And there are so many people who are remembered for what they owned. Some are remembered for the positions they held. Some are remembered for the titles attached to their names. One of the things that Brother Lee will be remembered for in a very special way is for his voice. The voice. He was a familiar voice, a community voice, a cultural voice, a voice that carried across radio waves, across village spaces, across community events, even across generations. But it was not merely that he had a voice, it was what he did with his voice. Brother Lee used his voice to carry Anguilla's stories. He used his voice to promote Anguilla's culture. He used his voice to lift up the work of ordinary people. And he used his voice to remind us that where we come from matters. He used his voice to make people aware of what was happening in the community. He used his voice in calypso, in broadcasting, in public service, and in the preservation of our national memory. And he was not simply talking. He was carrying something. He carried memory. He carried culture. He carried community. He carried the stories of people who may never have written books, but who helped to shape Anguilla. He carried the sounds, the struggles, the humor, the wisdom, and the resilience of a people. And that is why his passing touches more than one family. So of course today the family feels this most deeply. For you knew him in ways the wider public did not. You knew the private man, not only the public voice. You knew his ways, his habits, his expressions, his presence in the home and among family. But there's also wider grief, because when a man like Brother Lee dies, something familiar in the community becomes silent. It feels as though one of the voices that helped Anguilla hear itself is no longer there. And that is one of the hard truths of death. Death silences human voices. No matter how strong the voice, death can silence it. No matter how familiar the voice, death can silence it. No matter how loved the voice, how respected the voice, how often heard the voice, death can silence it. And so the broadcaster reaches his final broadcast. The singer sings his final song. The speaker gives his final word. The storyteller tells his final story. The friend has his final conversation. The parent gives the final advice. The servant completes the final task. And then the voice falls silent. And sometimes that is not easy for us to accept. We are not made to love people and then lose them without pain. We are not made to hear a voice for years and then easily accept that we will not hear it in the same way again. Death wounds us because love is real. Grief hurts because connection matters. Brother Lee had a voice, and we thank God for how he used it. Brother Lee's voice, like every human voice, has now fallen silent. But the question for us today is this: when our voice falls silent, will we hear the voice of Christ calling us to life? For that is the final voice that matters. Not the voice of public praise, not the voice of community tribute, not the voice of family memory, the voice of reputation, or the voice of culture, not even the voice of the preacher. The final voice that matters is the voice of Jesus Christ.
Methodist minister Reverend Lindsay Richardson during the funeral service of the late Leroy Hamilton Richardson, Brother Lee. The Anguilla government recently celebrated the graduation of a cohort 1 of the CARICAD Government of Anguilla Leadership Development Program, followed by a welcome reception for delegates attending the CARICAD board meeting. The graduation ceremony highlighted the program impact on strengthening leadership across the public service, featuring an overview by Dr. Lois Parks, Leadership Development and Institutional Strengthening Specialist at CARICAD, remarks from Mr. Devon Rowe, Executive Director of CARICAD, a participatory presentation by Mr. Farrer Banks, presentation of the certificates and inspiring reflection on behalf of the graduates by Mr. Lonnie Hobson, Controller of the Department of Inland Revenue. The evening continued with a welcome reception with Honorable Deputy Governor Perin Bradley, Acting Premier Shelia Rogers Webster, and Excellency the Governor Julia Crouch, OB, welcome CARICAD delegates to Anguilla, reaffirming the government commitment to leadership development, regional collaboration, excellence in the public service. The Anguilla government congratulated all the graduates of the Cohort 1 and extended a warm welcome to our regional partners as collaborative work continued towards strengthening public administration across the Caribbean. And again, just to let you know that this morning at around 9 o'clock, in about 10 minutes time, we will have Deputy Governor Perin Bradley, and the subject of our this morning conversation here on Klass FM will be the public sector reform and of course the salary review exercise that is underway, the much talked about salary review exercise that is happening here in Anguilla at this time. That will be the core of our conversation here on the morning program when Deputy Governor Perin Bradley gets here in about 5 minutes time. The Reparation Commission of the Caribbean Community CARICOM, which Anguilla is the associate member country, will travel to the United Kingdom this week. The visit is part of the organization's mandate to build international support for reparatory justice. A CARICOM secretariat said that the visit will be undertaken for a total of 4 days, starting July 13 to July 16. During the mission, the CRC will meet with diplomats, academics, and civil society organizations. The officials have shared that they will also do a presentation at the UK Parliament. The engagements will be hosted by the Institute of Commonwealth Studies at the University of London. The Commission said the visit is aimed towards strengthening strategic partnerships and advancing public education and civil society engagements on reparatory justice. The Rotary Club of Anguilla marked the beginning of the 2026-2027 Rotary year with its annual Change Your Board ceremony on Saturday, July 4th, celebrating a new chapter of leadership, service, and community impact. The ceremony featured an installation of Carolyn Richardson Hodge as the president of the Rotary Club of Anguilla. The installation was conducted by Assistant District Governor Jeffrey Socherin, who encouraged the incoming president and board of directors to lead with vision, compassion, and a steadfast commitment to a Rotary motto, service as above self. Serving as mistress of ceremonies with past assistant District Governor Eliza Lake, who guided the evening proceedings with warmth and professionalism. A highlight of the ceremony was the induction of the 3 new Rotarians into the club, Dr. Kevin Lemsey, Ms. Aliyah Pergrialo, and Mr. Hashim Ruwan. The induction reflects the club's continued growth and its commitment to engaging dedicated professionals and community leaders in humanitarian service. The keynote address was delivered by Honorable Jason Bryan, Ministerial Assistant for Sports, Youth and Culture in the Government of Anguilla. He praised the Rotary Club of Anguilla for its long-standing contribution to national development and encouraged continued collaboration in empowering youth, strengthening communities, and supporting meaningful service initiatives. The club was also delighted to welcome visiting Rotarians from St. Martin, whose attendance underscored the strong fellowship and enduring partnership shared among Rotary clubs throughout the region. The evening concluded with a fundraising raffle in support of the club's humanitarian program. Proceeds will assist in funding projects that focus on education, youth development, health, environmental stewardship, and community service across Anguilla. In her inaugural remarks, President Carolyn Richardson Hodge thanked members for their confidence and the pledge to lead with integrity, inclusiveness, and purpose. She affirmed the club's commitment to expanding its service to the people of Anguilla while embracing the Rotary International 2027-2026 theme, creating lasting impacts. As the Anguilla prepares for the excitement of Summer Festival 2026, the National Chronic Disease Unit is encouraging residents to celebrate responsibly through its Protect Your Vibe, Safe Sex, More Choices Real challenge for persons aged 16 and older. The competition aims to engage young people and the wider community in promoting positive health messages during the carnival season through creative social media content. Participants are invited to create short, impactful reels focused on topics such as condom use and protection, respect and consent, making responsible choices while having fun, carnival without regrets, and the risk associated with alcohol, drugs, and risky sexual behavior. While carnival is a time of celebration, culture, and enjoyment, it's also important that individuals make informed decisions that protect their health and well-being, said April Wilkinson Richardson, Program Officer for Sexual and Reproductive Health and HIV/AIDS at NCDU. The challenge provides a creative platform for the public to promote healthy behaviors while showcasing their talent and love for carnival. The competition officially launched on July 10, with submissions closing on 24 July. Public voting will take place from 25th to 31st July, and winners will be announced on August 1st. First place, $600. Second place, and with tickets and one ticket for Ice Wide Shut and a certificate. Second place, $250 EC. One ticket for Backlash and a certificate. Third place, $150 EC with one ticket for Senior Calypso Monarch competition and a certificate. All eligible submissions must meet competition requirements and must be submitted by the deadline date. Following the submission period, public voting will run from 25th to 31st of July. And for full eligibility criteria, submission guidelines, and scoring details, and any additional information, check the National Chronic Disease Unit Facebook page at Anguilla National Chronic Disease Unit and Instagram pages as well. The Ministry of Health, Tourism, Sports, and Partnership with Anguilla Red Cross has officially relaunched the Nurse Cadet Program, reviving a long-standing initiative designed to inspire young people to pursue careers in nursing and healthcare while strengthening Anguilla's future healthcare workforce. The Nurse Cadet Program was first established by the Ministry of Health over 15 years ago and successfully introduced numerous young people to the nursing and health professions before becoming dormant, recognizing the continued need to develop a sustainable pipeline of future healthcare professionals. The ministry began planning for the program revival as part of its ongoing commitment to nursing workforce and workforce development. At the same time, the Anguilla Red Cross has established its Youth Red Cross program. In October, it was established last year under the dedicated leadership of Miss Miriam Kellen and Miss Glenda Samuels. Since its inception, the group has been actively engaged in structured programming focused on humanitarian service, leadership development, and life-saving skills. And with that item, we've come to the end. We've come to the end here of our local development news for this morning. We're now 5 before 9, and time check brought to you here by Leon's. And Leon's location is down there at Meads Bay. Klass FM here in the morning time.
Celebrate Meads Bay all day. Leon's at Meads Bay blends Southeast Asian flavors with classic island favorites in a relaxed beachfront setting. Guests enjoy toes in the sand dining, handcrafted cocktails, and island breezes along beautiful Meads Bay. Whether enjoying effortless chill during the day or indulging in vibrant nighttime fun, Leon's at Meads Bay is the place to unwind. On Thursdays, enjoy a flavorful barbecue experience from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Meads Bay Barbecue, offering a delightful mix of gourmet grilled specialties, delicious cocktails, and live entertainment. On Sundays, embrace the energy and enjoy the island's best weekend lime, Sunday Fun Day from 4 to 9 p.m. Sway to the sweet sound of their music while indulging in handcrafted tropical cocktails and delectable island-inspired South Asian cuisine. With the largest outdoor seating on the island, these elevated experiences are not to be missed. Plus, experience ease of service with the all-new Leon's payment card. Leon's is open from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Thursdays and Sundays. Leon's remains closed to the public on Mondays. For more information, call 1-264-497-6111 or email concierge@maliuhana.com or visit www.maliuhana.com.
And up next, news from the region, sponsored by Quantum Investment Services Limited, location the Caribbean Commercial Complex.
It is impossible to predict the unexpected, but it is possible to plan for it. By having insurance or financial security, you can lessen the burden to you, your family, or your loved ones in the event the unexpected happens. Join our many satisfied customers at Quantum Investment Services Limited, where we provide you with valuable peace of mind. At Quantum Investment Services Limited, we offer property insurance, motor insurance, medical insurance, life insurance, air ambulance coverage, marine insurance, liability insurance, workman compensation, professional indemnity, and financial planning. Don't delay. Contact us today for your free quote by calling us at 264-497-7500 or 264-497-7510 or email us at info@quantumaxa.com. You can also visit our office at the Caribbean Commercial Center, Unit 12. Quantum Investment Services Limited, protecting you and your investment.
And now the regional news in detail. A strengthening El Nino is on track to become one of those strongest events in the historical record, raising fresh concerns for global shipping just days after the Panama Canal announced additional draft restrictions to conserve water ahead of the expected dry season. The latest El Nino gender agnostic discussion released yesterday, the U.S. Climatic Prediction Center said that there's now an 81% chance of the event will reach very strong status during October through December, with 97% chance it will persist into early spring 2027. Ocean and atmospheric conditions have continued to strengthen over the past months. The latest this weekly El Nino 3.4 index reached 1.2 degrees Celsius, while the Eastern Pacific warmed to 2.7 degrees Celsius, supported by a down-swelling Kevin wave that has increased subsurface ocean heat. NOAA also reported persistent low-level westerly winds, enhanced convection over the central Pacific, and suppressed rainfall over Indonesia and elsewhere around the world as well. If realized, the event would rank among the largest El Nino episodes on record since the 1950s and represents the driest season as well since that time. The outlook comes as the Panama Canal prepares for the possibility of another dry season affecting its watershed. Last week, the Panama Canal Authority announced it will progressively reduce the maximum authorized draft for vessels from 49.5 feet to 49 feet on July 24th. On June, the Moody rating announced a downgrade of the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines' long-term local and foreign currency issuer ratings comes from CAA1 to B3. Alongside their downgrade, the credit agency changed the nation's outlook from stable to negative. The rating action reflects the intensifying liquidity pressures and a rising debt burden that has become increasingly difficult for the small, undiversified economy to manage. As I told you earlier, we are going to truncate our class newscast this morning. We're going to make room for Deputy Governor Perin Bradley with a special session this morning right here on Class FM shortly. In the meantime, those St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in fact, among CARICOM nations, have signed a landmark border security impact, which establishes a comprehensive biometric data sharing program with the United States. MOU of cooperation was signed Friday in Washington by Rob Law, Under Secretary for Strategy, Policy and Plans for the Department of Homeland Security, and Lieutenant Colonel Michael Jones, the Executive Director of the CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security Impacts. The signing ceremony was hosted by the Ambassador for St. Kitts and Nevis and included representatives from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbuda, Dominica, Antigua, Grenada, St. Lucia, and the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. In fact, moving along here this morning, I'll tell you right now, too, that Virgin Gorda recurring power outages are threatening the island tourism industry. 9th District Representative Vincent Wheatley has warned, saying electricity failures and related water supply problems are undermining one of the BVI's most important economic sectors, tourism. Speaking in the House of Assembly recently, Wheatley said residents and businesses have endured months of electricity disruptions, prompting him to seek updates directly from the BVI Electricity Corporation on planned remedial works. And folks, we will, as I said to you earlier, we're going to truncate this segment this morning. We're going to make way for Deputy Governor Bradley in a while. And so it's here we will move forward now to our sports segment here quickly. And Anguilla Jaquan Samuel delivered a superb performance to capture the silver medals in the men's under 23 high jump and the 26 NACAC under 18 and under 23 championship in Mexico. Samuels cleared the impressive 2.08 meters to secure second place in a highly competitive field, finishing behind Mexico Jesus Vaquez, who claimed the gold medal with a winning clearance of 2.14 meters. Guatemala's Dan Seal Joel Alvarez earned the bronze medal after clearing in the 2.05 meters. The outstanding results marks another significant milestone for both Samuels and Anguilla athletics, highlighting the country's continued emergence on the regional stage. His consistency and composure throughout the competition demonstrated dedication and hard work invested in his preparations and earned Anguilla a well-deserved place on the podium. The Anguilla Amateur Athletics Association extends its heartfelt congratulations to Jaquan on this remarkable achievement and commends his coaches, the support staff, and the family for their unwavering commitment through this journey. And folks, just about 3 minutes after 9, and that's here we'll conclude our package for this morning as well. And going out now, we take a look at our big stories. And from the local scene here, quickly, I'll let you know the Royal Anguilla Police Force is offering up to $10,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction following a homicide in Blowing Point area. And from the region this morning, I will tell you right now here, Klass FM Radio 92.9. That St. Vincent and Grenadines among CARICOM nations have signed landmark border security pacts, which establishes a comprehensive biometric data sharing partnership with the United States. And in sports, Anguilla Jaquan Samuels delivered a superb performance to capture the silver medal in the men's under 23 high jump at the 2026 NACAC under 18 and under 23 championships in Acapulco, Mexico. That's the Klass newscast here for this morning. To say that you can join us here this evening at 7, God's willing, for another presentation. We thank you for listening. All right, so folks, we're gonna take care of a segment we have booked with Deputy Governor Perin Bradley this morning. He has to be going shortly, so we're gonna take care of that and get back to our regular programming in a bit. So right now, folks, our weather report will come on the back end. Our obituaries will come on the back end as well. All of the rest of our programming will come on the back end of this segment here this morning with DG Perin Bradley. So, folks, as you're well aware, as I would have mentioned to you earlier and in the newscast, that we would have spoken really earlier of public sector reform. I would have mentioned that to you. I also would have mentioned salary review exercises underway here in Anguilla. You recall some time ago he was off island and we spoke via the phone line. There was quite a bit of concern, quite a bit of conversation in our country about that exercise, and there was a pause that was a meaningful pause as he described it back then. And he is today here with us to discuss that very same situation, and let's hear the news from him right now. So he's here. I'm going to go across here and say a pleasant, let me go across here, greet to Mr. Bradley. As I said to you before, he was here some time ago on the system discussing that public sector reform exercise and more specifically the salary review component of that initiative. So I'll go across here, sir, and say to me, sir, let me say a pleasant good morning to you. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Hammer. Thank you once again to you and your listeners for having me this morning. And you're absolutely right. I was off island for a little bit. So the timing of it was quite unfortunate.
Yes.
I'm not looking for any sympathy, but I had a vehicle accident. I was hospital. So there was a lot that was happening during that period. So I'm now settled and grounded, and I've now had an opportunity to listened to a lot of the commentary of what's been happening and so forth.
Yes.
And I think it's important for me to come and speak directly to the public
Yeah.
about what's been going on, because I think over the last month,
Yeah.
The narrative has been shaped, but just took a completely different narrative that I'm now trying to kind of correct the record of sorts and to kind of explain to folks exactly what's been happening. Go ahead.
Tell me now, you would have mentioned during that time that there was a meaningful pause being put in place at the time to review what was happening, and you would have mentioned a number of of steps that was required to get to the bottom of this, really. So the meaningful pause, the outcome of the pause, what were you able to understand, discover, to clarify?
Right. Before we get into the specifics of that, Hammer, there's a couple of things a couple points I'd like to make before you get into it, and I think it's important for persons to appreciate the full context. We haven't done anything less than 20 years, right? We're paying people, and that's a point I keep making over and over again. We're paying people in 2026 2008 wages. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, this was not simply about kind of just giving people an increase. It was an entire review of our compensation structure. I think we had to correct certain anomalies that were existing under the current setup. We had to create some career pathways and address salary compression that would have gone on for the last couple of years. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that government can recruit and retain talented persons and at the same time deliver a quality public service, which is why we engaged PwC to undertake this independent review. They looked at every established post in the public service. That was almost 1,000 established posts that we have. So again, and this was not about looking at the persons in the post, this was looking at the job description and looking at the jobs and benchmarking them across sectors, countries, and so forth. So I think it's important for us to get that. Now, one of the things that has emerged is that this perception that folks at the top were getting too much and those at the quote-unquote bottom didn't get enough. I think that's quite unfortunate because what we would have seen is that persons would have cherry-picked certain salaries and try to use an example. Now, when you look at the actual data, we're talking about 1,300 something public service. When you throw in the statutory bodies, that's another 300. So we're talking about 1,600 persons in general. Now, for the reform of that magnitude, you can't just simply cherry-pick one or two positions to kind of make a point. You got to look at all of the occupations across the public service. Now, we've had some persons who've seen some significant increases because they would have been way below the market rate for many, many years. When you look at our firefighters who would have received a substantial increase, people in the post office, our senior clerical officers, people in the health sector especially. So that was just an example. Some of those persons received some substantial increases, sometimes some of them on a magnitude of up to 40%, because they were so far behind what the market was saying they should have been. So it's not just, so if you look across the public service, certain posts saw some substantive increases. Yeah, so it wasn't just concentrated at the top. So that, again, that was a very unfortunate narrative. And when you look at these people, they're not senior executive. These are persons who are rank and file officers who keep the public service. They're the backbone of the public service. They're the ones answering the phone. They're protecting our borders. They're responding to emergencies. They're caring for our parents and what's not. So these are not people who, as the narrative would put it, are at the top. These are persons who are, like I said, rank and file officers who would have received significant increases. Now, one of the main stats I'd like to point out is that 2/3 of all the officers receiving those significant increases were grade 3, right? While no officer in the senior ranks received anything above 50%. So this whole idea that the top got too much, the bottom didn't get enough is simply not true.
It's not true?
That's simply not true. If you look across the public service, I picked some examples of those who receive significant increases and so forth, nurses, aides, teaching assistants, cashiers, maintenance officers and so forth, people who cook in a hospital, library attendants. These persons have significant increases. Again, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but just to give you an example of some of those positions that receive substantive increases. Again, these people cannot be considered top of the public service. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's just unfortunate that our colleagues are spoken about in this manner, because these are folks who are hardworking, decent people who keep the public service running every single day, and to suggest that they were somehow overlooked or not treated fairly in this exercise, I think is a very unfortunate narrative, and I'd like to make that clear. Now, the other thing is, this was never meant to be an across-the-board increase. We were looking at different jobs and so forth to see where they were compared to the market. So in addition to that, we would have done some regrading over the years, not a substantive, not a lot, but there were positions here and there that were regraded and so forth. Also, we had some newly created positions, all of which would have been very close to what the market is saying. So those would have seen not like a modest increase, but that's because they were already pretty close to the market. So I think that's where we are right now in terms of what we're doing. Now, in terms of the pause, right? We have listened, right? Folks have it's completely legitimate for folks to question the methodology, the implementation, the outcome. That is absolutely fair to do so. So we have received some appeals. We're carefully going through those. We've already identified some that had, again, legitimate concerns. Again, when you undertake an exercise this big, you're bound to have legitimate issues. So we're sifting through those as we speak. So this was not totally unexpected, but when you look at a review of this size, it's not simply looking at those, because what you determine on one grievance or one appeal may have implications for a wider subset. So it's not simple just cherry picking those and looking at them. So I think the important thing for us is that we have a structured process of reviewing these appeals. We're sifting through them, we're going through them, and we're gonna make a determination as to the validity of those appeals and those claims and what we need to do to make the necessary adjustments. So that's the process that we are in now. And once that's complete, then we have to cost the outcome of that, because again, if we have to make certain changes, that may have implications for the cost of this exercise. So what happens now is that we're considering various options and what's not in terms of how we move forward. One of the concerns that came up was having a minimum increase, right, in terms of folks who would not have received what one would consider a significant increase, at least say
at the top.
Right,
at the top.
right. To say at a minimum, everybody would get a minimum, a particular increase. Again, those are just things we're having discussions about. They're not set in stone. Again, they have to be costed. So I'm just saying that as far as listening, hearing the concerns, and considering options as to how they can be addressed, those are some of the conversations we're having now. But at the end of the day, this has to be affordable, right? And we have to make sure that it is costed properly. So that's what we're doing right now, trying to work out, okay, once we've gotten through the appeals and we walk through the implications, then we can make a determination.
You and I spoke about
how we move forward.
DG, you and I spoke about the job description some time ago as well, and that appeared to be a major factor for some persons, believing that we were working with old data back in the day, and disbelieved that data would have been provided to PwC as well, and that they may have done the work based on that data. You would have mentioned that that there may have been a call for some departments to update those descriptions. Is that being done? With
the call went out since 2024, because we anticipated this exercise, and we would have said to department heads since 2024, this exercise is coming. Make sure your job descriptions are up to date. Things might have changed. Technology might have been introduced. So make sure that your job descriptions actually reflect what it is persons do day in and day out. So that call went out since 2024. So we would have taken it for granted that was done. But I think there have been some reports that some of those job descriptions were not updated. And again, as part of the grievance process, we're now looking at those issues as well to make sure that the information that PwC relied on was valid and up to date. So that's what's happening now as part of this grievance exercise.
And also, sir, at the top, you mentioned a while ago too, the issue at the top, and maybe have a ceiling there, because you get the impression when you listen to public servants speak, even the members of the public, the top positions are really a little high there, and they believe that those increases will trade them over the top. For example, your position, the premier's position, minister of the government position, persons will be making quite a bit of money. That also caused some concern, I'm sure. I mean, you may have heard those conversations in the public space, right? Person concerned about the quantum leap from there up to in some cases up to $500,000. It seems like per annum.
$500,000?
I saw that somewhere that I would have seen that somewhere online that that it could very much reach that if it goes through for some persons.
No, nobody's going to make $500,000. That's not true. No. That is not true. I think the scale that you see may have gone all the way up to $500,000 because remember we haven't done this in a while. But nobody's starting at $500,000 because when you do this, you want to make sure that you don't have to go back and do this. You want a scale that will last and so forth. So that's a legitimate concern. Again, I have no issue with anybody questioning the outcome and so forth. But the difficulty that I have, what I find most troubling is the suggestion that somehow we sat out in some back room and decided this for you and this for me. Exactly. I think it's quite disappointing a person's. So when you start to question people's character and integrity and professionalism, you stir up a certain discontent and anger towards people, which I find is totally unnecessary and unhelpful. It's not going to help us resolve it. As a small community, I think we need to be mindful of the type of words we use when we talk about people in these scenarios. Now, as far as the numbers are concerned, they didn't fall out of the sky. PwC did their research, they did their market comparisons and what's not, and the data is what it is. So whether or not we accept it wholesale and how we implement it, that's a whole other question. But I just have a difficulty with persons thinking that these figures will somehow a fix up. That is so far from the truth. And when you look across the public service, you will see that significant persons across the rank and file of the public service has benefited tremendously from this exercise. So to suggest that the ones that are tapped somehow fix themselves up, I think it's quite unfortunate and it's untrue. And very unhelpful because again, when you look across the public service, several people, and I mentioned some to you earlier, none of those folks could be considered quote unquote the top. The other thing that I'd like to mention on that point is that once we start engaging in this type of rhetoric, what you end up doing is pitting one part of the public service against the next, pitting certain professions against the others, and we got to be mindful that some folks would have said to me that they don't think public service should get a raise at all. So there's all this going on. So I think we need to be careful in terms of how we talk about these issues. We could debate the policy, we could debate the implementation, but what we cannot do is suggest that persons are around here trying to, benefit from the system and fix this thing up in order to benefit a few as opposed at the expense of others. I think that's a very unfortunate narrative to take. Very unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate for sure. So the way forward is that you're going to these those concerns and those who had issues flagged case by case. You're saying?
We have to. We gotta take a time with it. Again, we heard the concerns. That's why we paused. And we don't want, as I said to the public service with my circular about a week ago, we don't want this pause to last any longer than it needs to, right? But we do have to take our time to go through these appeals and so forth. So I know, as I said in my circular as well, folks want to know about it. When will this pause be released? It's going to be retroactive. But again, those decisions can only be made once we have thoroughly gone through these appeals and made clear determinations as to where we stand.
All right. So, folks, you're hearing that for yourself. So, is there a window now? I mean, when do you propose to complete this exercise? Because the public servants, several of those persons would have reached out to me yesterday asking me when will they get their money because the pause is in place. Is there a tentative window for conclusion of this exercise?
Well, Hammer, again, this is what I would like to see happen. Right, but again, it still comes down to the complexity of some of these appeals that we're seeing, right? In terms of how we walk through them, the implications for whatever the outcome is. Again, because it may be an individual appeal, but it may have implications for an entire other group of persons. So therefore, we need to be careful as to what determination we make, and we have to cast these things. So ideally, right? Again, I don't want to sit here and make a commitment, but ideally, and I'm pushing the folks at Public Admin and PwC as hard as I can in terms of trying to wrap this thing up. We'd like to take the rest of the month to get those appeals resolved and sorted out. And our hope is that we can have these salaries paid in August, including the retroactive. Again, that is our ambition, but I don't want to mismanage folks' expectations. That is our intention. That's what we'd like to do. But again, there's work to be done in order for us to achieve that, because we're talking about almost over 1,000 people. So the outcome, you've got to create and generate what we call appointment forms, over 1,000 people. We've got the treasury in the Ministry of Finance has to be geared up. So there's a whole lot of administrative work that has to go into the back end of this once we have the appeals mechanism wrapped up. But again, I just want to clear, that is our intention, that is our hope to get this done, but it all depends on, again, as we work through the appeals, what determinations we make based on those appeals. So that's our intention. That's what we really would like to do. But again, I want to manage expectations that if there's an off chance it may go beyond that, but we really are trying, because again, we do not want this delay to go any longer than it needs to be.
Now, the Department of Education, apparently, from what I would have gathered over the last couple of weeks and months, and listened to the companies coming in, you mentioned fire, they were quite happy, it seems, and some departments were happy, others were not too happy. I realized that based on what I was getting here, from those of the feedback. The Education Department, they had some special concerns. Are those concerns in terms of being, I guess they're being addressed, but what is it? Is it their job descriptions? What appears to be the issue with education, though, from what you have been assessing?
I think it goes back to the whole point about the job descriptions. That was one of the concerns that came up, that some of the folks in the department, their job descriptions didn't necessarily reflect some of their duties. So I think that was a legitimate issue as well that we needed to look at. That's one of the things that we're now considering as well. So that was one of the job description things that you mentioned earlier. That's a good example of a case where you could say this, yep, I think they have a very good point here as far as how that will be addressed. Again, I don't want to get into individual and specific cases, but that's a good example of what's been happening. But like I said, just across the public service, folks have seen, and you can see some of what I have here in terms of the persons would have received significant increases. So I just hate either that people are suggesting that some benefited and some didn't. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, continue.
No, I was just saying that for the ones that may have seemed to be not substantial increases, remember there were some persons who, I think in the case of one statutory body that was brought into government in 2024, the folks in that department would have seen a significant raise when they came into government. That was just in 2024. Right? But that doesn't mean that we won't look at it again. But my point is that over the last couple of years, there have been persons who are in groups of persons who would have received adjustments along the way to keep them at pace with the market. People like prison officers and so forth. Those jobs, these are tough, demanding jobs, that hadn't seen, or firefighters, those are jobs that hadn't seen significant increases for years. An entry-level job in the public service now is going from $40,000 a year up to $53,000. That's an entry-level job.
That's decent.
Yeah, so as you start in the school with your subjects and what's not, your entry-level job in the public service now would start at $50,000 up from, I think it was about 47, about 40, thereabouts. So those are significant increases.
And these are indeed increases for public servants, folks. So you're hearing what's happening right now here. So again, folks, the DG said that tentatively sometime in August, these salaries should be paid, barring any.
That is our intention. That's the drive. That's the push.
That's the plan. That's the hope, really. At this point in time. So, folks, you're getting it here now. So that's one aspect. How are things going, though, in terms of the exercise itself, the overall public sector reform program? How are things going in that realm?
Thank you for asking about that, Hammer. It's going really well. One of the things we did, we realized that leadership at the senior level in the public service was one of the areas that we needed to focus on. So we engaged a company called, not a company, an outfit called Caricat. They're based in Barbados. We've been a member state for many years. They do a lot of work around the region in terms of public administration and government policy and so forth. So they would have done a leadership program for us. The first cohort graduated last week, Thursday. I think that went. So in terms of investing in leadership in the public service, I think that was a significant part of what the reform exercise showed, and I was part of that as well too. Myself, the permanent secretaries, even the ministers, we all sat through that process as well. So when we speak of leadership, we're not just simply talking about people in the public service. We're talking about everybody across the public service, including the premier, the ministers, myself. I think it was quite a wonderful exercise for us to be a part of that, and I think it showed us leading from the front that we're not exempt, and all of us can learn something. Leadership could be quite demanding, and we can all learn something. So I think going through that program participating in was quite helpful and insightful for myself and my colleagues as well.
All right. Okay, so folks, and just before you go, though, this I guess is all ties into the public sector and management about the public sector. I've been asking questions for some time now about, and I know that we are dealing with public service salaries in the public sector reform exercise, but Social Security, were we in closer to appointing a director there? Where were we with that?
I do not have any recent information with regard to the appointment of a director of Social Security at this point.
At this point. All right. So, folks, the news this morning here is that the deputy governor, is saying that that the salary review exercise, well, it is still continuing, and there was a pause that was initiated some time ago. Last month it was really when this whole thing blew up, and they're working along. They're trying to resolve the issues on a case-by-case basis. They're reviewing the complaints that came in, really, and for persons who would have submitted those complaints to the Public Service Commission, right? It would have been that.
No, it was public
administration. It is. Yeah. You would have done that. So they're reviewing them on a case-by-case basis, and he's saying that the wish really and the hope is that sometime in August that they can take care of these salaries. So is there a plan though? Because we spoke earlier about the head, and I told you the concerns some persons in society have and the community have about the head. So for example, if the head makes $8, and and the mid tier and the lower end of the civil service makes $10 or $15. The view was that it was going to create some imbalance within the system, quite a bit of imbalance, where the top will make a whole lot. Is there a plan as to how we're going to address the top? Is there something that we have definitive? Is there something tentative that we have in place how to address those at the top? And that was a concern that some persons had, even for government ministers with their salaries. There were persons who were speaking about that, and in fact told one of them here someday, be careful with that, because you're already here and then you're going to go here, and But is that discussion taking place about those salaries at the top there?
I mean, again, everything is under consideration at this point. We're listening, we're hearing the concerns. We live in a community just like you, so we hear the concerns and what's that, and they have to be responded to in a meaningful way. So I get the perception issue, but at the same time, you got to remember that again, I'm not making any excuses. That there is a small number of people at quote unquote at the top, and a very large number of people in the middle. Right. So, in terms of making any adjustments, we got to consider the implications for the entire system. Yeah. Now the other thing I realize is that a lot of people seem to be not familiar with the salary structure, because if you look at the current structure, in terms of those relative differences, it's pretty much in line with what we have now. So I think that's the other thing too, that I kind of realize even some of my colleagues in the public service don't pay much attention to the budget, the grading structure, the establishment details, and so forth. So I really would encourage the public to scrutinize these things, and see what the current structure looks like and what is not. I think that's important for us to be well informed. You'll see that some of those positions relative to each other pretty much remain intact. So Hammer, again, I want to thank you for your time this morning, because again, at the end of the day, this is not simply about salaries. We really want to build a public service that can attract and retain talent. We could have simply just done the report and moved on, but of course we've now heard concerns, we've paused, we've listened, we invited the appeals, we've set up the process to look at them, and that's what we're doing now, and we're going to carefully consider where we go next as far as the implementation is concerned. At the end of the day, we got to make sure that this is fair, it's affordable, and it's fiscally responsible, and it does command the confidence of the public.
All right, and you would have said that you would have said for persons who had questioned the sustainability of this exercise, that you would have told me some time ago that it was it would have been stress test, it would have been checked against lots of benchmarks.
We as I said to you on the last discussion, we have well over 30 years of fiscal and economic data as it relates to Angola's economy. We've been through hurricanes, we've been through pandemics, we've been through September 11th, so we know how to model different shock scenarios. And in every one of those scenarios, this review stood up. Now, again, the fiscal part of it, I get the concern, but my point is that once we've done the stress testing on every downside scenario, it was still viable. And if a policy cannot survive a stress test, then you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing it.
That's how it is. Okay. All right. Well, Deputy Governor. Oh, and statutory bodies, they're on board. They're covered by this whole thing. So security, all those agencies are covered.
Correct. The review consider those as well, but at the end of the day, the statutory bodies are independent. They have to make their own decisions as far as how they want to implement the salary scale. It's not for us to dictate what they do. Just like it is now. They're arm's length bodies. They make their own decisions. They have their own boards and executive teams. So I think it's for them to consider the advice from PwC and how to implement it.
Okay.
So we will offer as much support as we can, but at the end of the day, these are determinations that these bodies are to make for themselves.
All right. Okay, well, Deputy Governor Bradley, I want to thank you for coming in. I thank you for the information. I'm sure that public servants and others out there are better informed this morning as a result of you appearing on the morning program here with us. And so the good news is that exercise is on the way, folks. You're hearing that, and there is a wish. This is a hope, really, a hope date of sometime in August. That we can
because I really want to manage expectations on that, but at the same time, if we don't set up ourselves a target, it'll just drag it. Because these things could just go on and on and on.
Yesterday I was on the streets, and I was in a shop. I was in an office yesterday somewhere, and they get the hammer. We need our money. I said, well, I said the deputy governor will have the answer for you.
That's the other thing too, Hammer. In some instances we've created one set of unhappy people for another set of unhappy people, because there are lots of folks who are very happy with the outcome of this exercise. But here we are, and I think we just have to do the responsible thing. But like I said, if we don't set up ourselves a target, we don't want it to drift longer than it needs to.
I was surprised to know that when we put a pause in place, and there were persons who called me angry about that too, because they had the expectations of it up there that they would get coming out better as a result of exercise. They were being paid more money, a lot more.
The day of the pause, I received several emails and WhatsApps expressing the same concern.
I realized that. But I think what was hard though, you got to go right now though.
House is starting at 10 o'clock.
What was difficult for me to understand though, as someone who worked in the public service myself, many years, for several years, over a decade, was the lack of increments. I recall increments really in those days. We look forward to those every year. They come your way every year.
I'm really glad you asked what I am, because that's one of the points that I missed. Because one of the remember the reason why we're in this jam. Because after the financial crisis in 2008, everything was frozen. Because remember, we had implemented a new pay and grading scale, I think around 2005, 2007, which was passed. Because at that time, folks were supposed to progress into the new scale over time, so that the government could slowly absorb the increased costs and so forth. And as one of the fiscal measures to combat the crisis at the time, increments were completely frozen. Remember, we only reinstated the 2008 salaries about 2 years ago. So part of this process is for us now to move to a new scale and get that unstuck. The difference is increments are coming back. However, there will be performance-based. I think there's a lot. I'm hearing a lot of the persons who have had what to say about the public service in terms of our performance and so forth. I think that's one of the things they keep stressing as well. That we need to ensure that persons are performing and so forth. So I take that on board. I think it's a legitimate concern for the taxpaying public to have. I just want to make it clear that going forward, increments will be based on performance.
So no longer on an annual rollover basis.
Not an automatic thing. You gotta be performing.
Okay, so
and I think that's fair.
So there'll be assessments by a department head or something.
We've always had a performance management regime in place, and I have said this publicly on many occasions. One of my biggest mistakes being in this job is allowing that performance review system to falter. But I'm just as determined to make sure that it's working, that it's robust going forward. So when you're in these jobs, you gotta admit when you make a misstep. And I think in that case, that was a misstep on my part, which I'm trying very hard to correct. But I think pay for performance is a legitimate issue. I think persons in the taxpaying public do have a right to ensure that their public service is efficient, people are performing, and people are held to account if they're not. So I think that is a legitimate concern for the public to have, and one of the things that I'm quite keen on addressing with this new public sector reform program. You gotta perform.
And so these assessments are based on performance. Will be carried out by who your department head.
Well, line manager. For rank and file staff, would be by the department head. For the department heads, by the permanent secretary, and for the permanent secretaries, by myself. For me, it would be the governor and the head of the PSC in terms of looking at my performance and so forth. So it goes all the way up. It goes all the way. Even the governor, I get every year I get queries from folks in London about the governors, for all the governors that I've worked with. So the appraisals is for everybody up and down the chain, Hammer. You know, so it's not just limited to persons in the across the public service. It goes all the way up to the top. So I think it's an important point for us to make that. I'm not immune or excused from it either. I have to be appraised as well. Yeah.
So when do we hope to, is there a tentative date though to complete the public sector exercise, the reform exercise? I mean, it's been going on for some years now.
Yeah, the action plan was published back in, I think, January, February. It's online, it's publicly available. It has 59 action points on it. We're now compiling our July report, because we did say we're going to do regular updates to the public as to the progress. So you're asking the right question at the right time. But so we're now compiling that report, and we hope to have it published by at least the end of July, so folks can have an understanding as to where we are with regard to implementing the public sector reform program. And one of the things I want to mention too is a review of our General Orders and our Public Service Commission regulations. I think that work is ongoing. We have a consultant from Public Administration International. We've received a substantive draft, which we've now asked the Attorney General's chambers to comment on. So that, the Caracal leadership training, and also the public sector pay. So those are three significant elements of the public sector reform program that I can that I'm feeling very good about. I didn't anticipate the pause with the peer review. However, we are where we are, but it's still more progress than we had over the last 20 years. So I'm very hopeful I know we'll get through this one way or the other.
Yeah, through this one for sure. Okay, so one last question. So those are job descriptions that we mentioned to you earlier. You would have asked for them some years ago, for some time now, and are we seeing compliance though from departments and getting those up to date now?
Yeah, for the most part, I think persons. Again, there are a couple of good things out of this. Is that all of a sudden persons are very aware of the job descriptions. There are persons who hadn't looked at the job descriptions for a very long time. So I think people now fully appreciate what's happening. And then in some instances, the job descriptions were submitted, but we had some instances where persons were carrying, in terms of vacancies, there were some positions that were vacant. So what ended up happening is that persons ended up carrying some of those responsibilities, but they weren't actually reflected in their job description. So those are some of the things that we saw as well, that folks were concerned about, where they came out of the process. And then based on what they do, you realize that but the fact is, these were things that it was another job description that should have been filled, but it wasn't for whatever reason. So those are the types of things we're looking at now, whether or not, if it was working like that for however long, whether or not that position actually need to be filled. We need to write it out of the budget completely and redistribute. So those are some of the things that we've seen, Hammer, that we're walking through. So again, some of these appeals are quite complex and head scratching. And you kind of realize, wow, okay, this person has this is a genuine issue here. We really need to walk through. So I do appreciate that. The other thing that was good about this process is that my colleagues, and I mentioned this to you the last time I was on, my colleagues around the public service have very strong views on who's performing and who's not performing. Very, very strong views. Because you hear comments like, I don't know why so and so is upset because he don't even come to work. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. And that's the kind of thing that's been coming out. Again, I don't want to say that we pitting each other against different sections. But what I'm saying, so now that we're having this kind of conversation, so when we talk about performance related for increments and doing the appraisals and so forth, I'm hoping that folks, as the young people say, keep that same energy. Right? That if you're so concerned about whatever, but I hope that when your time comes to be appraised and your participation in that appraisal process, that folks...
there's something that I recognize about the public service, having worked there for, I said, over a decade. The culture within the service, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's the same. Maybe have gotten worse progressively. I'm not even sure. But just believe that we have a job that is permanent. It is a job for life. Yeah. And you are here, and you do the bare minimum. You can just go along, get along, and just move along, and you can't lose your job, and you're okay, and everything goes. That's the culture that was around for a long time.
I'm not gonna deny that elements of that exist. I was just in Bermuda with my counterparts. We had our heads of public services for the Overseas Territories Summit in Bermuda, and that was a topic of discussion as well. That across the territories, we're all having the same issue. You know, how do we drive performance? How do we improve accountability? So it's a conversation going on. You know, how in terms of and I would say if people need to be moved up or out of the public service. You know, if you're performing, you should be progressed upwards. If you're not, then you should be moved out. But the difficulty that we have, Hammer, in such a small society, we don't like having awkward conversations. We just don't like having awkward conversations. You know, you would complain, we would get in somebody's ear, but we're not prepared to actually document the issues in a meaningful way. I've heard anecdotes and stories over the years, persons who are supposedly underperformance, and when you check their files, it's pristine.
Clean files. Pristine,
you know. And my mother, who was establishment secretary for many years, she was saying to me that we just, you know, as a house talking the other day, and she was saying to me that, you know, nothing had changed since her days, you know, which is an unfortunate thing to say that. And when you look at some of the issues, she realized back when she was there, a lot of these same challenges had existed, you know. So again, which is why we're doing this reform process now, because we've got to stop. We got to push against it, you know. And I'm very hopeful because I think we have some really bright, sharp, dedicated, decent, hardworking public servants, and I think for them to get painted with this broad brush is unfortunate. You know, we got a lot of good shining stars. People,
I've seen some.
Yeah,
and I know some
doing some good work. You know, and I think we need to encourage and support them. And at the same time, we need to be a bit tougher in terms of dealing with underperformance. That's a legitimate concern. And I think is
it the same throughout the other British overseas territories? In terms of performance, civil service performance, how they perform, the issue of performance. Is it?
They have the same concern. Yeah, I'm talking about counterparts. Pretty much the same concern in terms of getting people to hold persons to account. Because once you start to trigger that process of trying to separate somebody from the public service, you've got to have your facts lined up. You've got to have your paperwork straight. You have to have the evidence to support what it is you're doing. So I think that's been a challenge. Folks are not, there seems to be an unwillingness to actually have these awkward conversations. And I'd like to see more of that happening in the public service. Because again, this exercise, a lot of that came out. You know, a lot of people were sharing anecdotes and stories about, exactly. Right. So I'm hoping that, again, we can continue with that conversation, because I think it's very important. Again, the public has a right to expect that their hard-earned tax dollars are going to a public service that is actually performing and delivering the services that they want and need. So I think that's a fair expectation.
Yeah, it is. Deputy Governor Bradley, thank you for your time, sir. I think we learned a whole lot this morning. So, folks, again, as we go here, from my mind, the big story here is that we have a hopeful date, a hopeful time of August. So for those persons who have been meeting me all the time about your money, well, the DG said that hopefully, that is not set in stone at all. We can get there sometime in August, right?
We have to set ourselves a target. We have to set a target and walk towards it. That's the plan.
Okay, that's for sure. All right, and so we're good. So, folks, and so if you have concerns, or where do you go? Well, by now, I believe also someone with concerns would have reached the public admin long term, right? By now, they should have reached there, and the reviews are on the way right now for sure. So we're hoping to get it done by sometime in August. He's saying you should have your money by then, retroactively as well. Right?
Again, those decisions once we get to the end of the review and you understand the cost of the policy implications.
It must be costed,
exactly. Then we can make a determination. But again, all of those are clear intentions that we'd like to proceed with. But again, we don't want to drag this out. It's been, because we should have done this since May. It was the target date was May, implementation in May and so forth. So we know May, June, July, August. So we're behind, and I think if we don't set ourselves a target, I don't want us to be dragging out. So the pressure's on.
And statutory bodies, again, just for clarity for you guys, you're covered in this exercise as well, but it depends. It comes down to you have your boards and your management teams that they have to determine the extent of they have to determine the quantum, right? We were going with for those statutory bodies, right?
Correct.
Okay, you heard that, so you're covered there, but your boards will take care of that on your end. Deputy Governor Bradley, thank you for your time, sir, and all the best. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, Hammer, and thank you to your listeners for accommodating me this morning. Thank you very much.
All right, Klass, the front here in the morning time, folks. folks, just about 15 now before the 10 o'clock hour. You heard from Deputy Governor Perin here on the morning program today, and to let you know that you can join us here. I'm not through with you yet. I have to get back into our regular programming here on Klass FM Radio 92.9 for this morning. So you learned a few things this morning. You learned that that they intend to pay these salaries, these new salaries, sometime in August if all goes as planned. They're working on the issues that were raised by persons out there. At the top, though, the top of the salaries, I raised that point to them a while ago here. The persons were concerned that there were some persons who were getting too much at the top. You heard what he said about that as well. There's some conversation about that, how to deal with that, and maybe put a cap somewhere in there. And they were believing that there were persons who were going to get too much money, really. But he said that anyway, though, that at the top, even when you compare the top to the bottom, there's no top civil servants who will get 40% really increase in salary at all based on the work done by PwC. But concerns were raised about that. I saw a paper that was produced by one of my teachers recently, Bernard Watley, who I would have seen that document where that spoke to substantial increases for the top, really, and he was concerned about that too. I recall that being the case, and he would have said here today, the DG Governor, that Bradley, that they're looking at those situations and they are talking about them. They're having conversations really about all of these things. So we're going to learn, I'm sure, as the days and the weeks roll on, we're going to learn a lot more. And but civil servants, those of you who are meeting me every day and calling about your money every day, well, the man said, the DG said that sometime in August, that's the hopeful date, really. They have set a timeline for that, barring any other big issues really coming up around here. Now, I would have said before to politicians and others that this is a very crazy thing for you, because already we are seeing those at the top, is a very few at the top, are receiving some big salaries, and to take a quantum leap now, a massive jump from there to higher up now, will sure create some concerns and some chatter within the wider public, the community of Anguilla, for sure. Our guys who's making $30,000 or $25,000 a month already, to receive additional 10 on that now, or more, really will cause some concerns really among the people of Anguilla. So how do you address that? How do we keep the top? Because God knows it. Money is important for all of us. And who said it, boy? It was Mr. Love who said it here at the program, and I had to laugh about that. He said money is right up there with oxygen. Money is important for all of us. He says right up there with oxygen. It means they need money in the worst of way, like you need air to breathe. And but at the same time, the disparities we're creating in terms of those at the top and those at the bottom and what you're getting really have to be very managed carefully. Because there was some person who called me some time ago who mentioned to me that we must be careful not to create class structures within Anguilla where the haves have a lot and those at the bottom have nothing. But in this case, he's saying that everybody will be taken care of based on what he's saying, and he said the reviews will have make some people happy. There's some persons who had issues, education. He said some of those persons had genuine issues, and they're being addressed by the system as well. Okay, so folks, the recording is there. You'll hear what he said. You can go back and dissect for yourself and listen to what DG would have mentioned about that situation. Anyhow, so folks, I'm got to get back to where we are right now here. I'm going to get ready now for, we have quite a bit of death announcements. A lot of those will come your way. And here on Klass FM Radio, 92.9 here in the morning time. So we have those to come your way in a bit. Also, we're going to have our celebration program, Okay, performance is coming, so I don't know. This is a lot going on around here. So a lot of things are happening around here right now. Things are just happening around here. For those persons who are in the statutory boards, like Social Security and others, Tourist Board, etc., this covers you too, but your board of directors, management team will determine the extent of your raise, your increase. So it will not be managed by the public service. Your board management team will determine your increase. So in the case of Social Security staff, those of you who are concerned, well, your board have to increase you a bit more. If that's the case, that's what he's saying. We're just going to hear about that. So guys, let's get back to where we are right now. I want to get to our okay, so let's go here now. Okay, so Klass FM. Okay. All right, so Klass FM Radio 92.9 here in Wellington. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, so, okay. Gonna now see where we're going right now here today. Let's get into, we are right now here this morning, Klass FM, Radio 92.9. So, let's get into our celebration program here now for this morning. Okay, well, quite a bit of those coming up here now today. All right, so North Nanton. All right, so let's see where we are right now. So we have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and today. So North Nanton, stand by for me. You're gonna help me with this morning. So let's get the program going here quickly. So North Nanton, you're gonna take some of these, and I'm gonna take some as well. Here this morning on the program. Just hold the spot for you. Celebration program. I gotta say now, good morning and happy birthday now here. Going out to Amethyst Saunders. Amethyst Saunders over there in the UK, girl. I gotta say good morning and happy birthday to you. Enjoy your day to the maximum.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy
okay, so North Nanton will help us to take care of some of those, and North Nanton, you'll take care of a portion. I'll take care of another portion as well. Just hold the spot you've got here. I'm Klass FM in the morning time. Okay, so North Nanton will help us this morning here with we have a lot to take care of, so she'll take care of Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I'll take care of today, right? So let's go across here. North Nanton, let me go across with our nurse. Good morning to you, and welcome to the program. Take it away from right here this morning. Good morning, welcome.
And thank you so much. God bless you. And we are extending birthday greetings for Saturday, the 11th of July, to Malachi Brooks Matthew, from your parents, Leanne and Michael, your grandparents, Eustace and teacher Hazel Brooks, family circle, Grace Barbara Bundy, teacher Rosalind Pond and Marilyn Richardson, your neighbors, Ellen Harrigan, Bishop Errol and Rose Brooks, and myself. Also to Gary Hazelwood, from your wife, your children, siblings, family circle, the Busbys, Pentagon, and Southern community. Sandra Betty Richardson, from your family circle, and myself. To Janique Connor, Lucille Alice Pena, from the Busbys. Vidya Harrigan, from your parents, the siblings, family circle, and myself. To Leandra Connor, Sherlyn Richardson, Marcel Foy, from your siblings, the children, the family circle, the clergy and congregation of the Pro Cathedral of St. Mary's, Marcelin and the girls, the Busbys, Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families, and myself. To Landman Richardson, that's Tank, from your family circle, teacher Janice and Simba Price. To Travis Carty, from your mother Jacinta, your grandmother Faustina, the children, aunts and uncles, the family circle, the management and staff of Maiku, and myself. To Cedro Gams, Carol Clark Richardson, from your family circle, your goddaughter, Grisita, the Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families, and myself. To Shaquan Hodge and all the other birthday and anniversary celebrants. Belated birthday greetings for Sunday, June 12th is extended to Charles Jarvis in the USA, from your mother, Teresita, siblings, wife, Joy, your in-laws, that's mother and father-in-law, Joni and Christian, your brothers-in-law, Terry and Junior, your cousins-in-law, Illich, Ellis, Bernard, Sheila, Vi, Jasmine, Gloria, the family circle, and myself. To Judith Creeley, from your siblings, the children and grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, the family circle, the management and staff and clients of the JTC Senior Citizens Home, and myself. To Jerome Roberts from your family circle, the clergy, scouts, and congregation of the St. Augustine's Anglican Church, the Eastern Community, and myself. To Josephine Harrigan, the city from your siblings, the family circle, Gloria Reed Horsford, Ethelyn Brooks, the Little Dix community, and myself. To Chaslin Reed from your parents, grandmother Gloria Reed Horsford and family. To Rosalind Gums from your sister Jasmine Banks, Telly, and other siblings, the clergy and congregation of the Pro Cathedral of St. Mary's, and myself. To Esther Rowan from the Busbys. To Carl Connor from your family circles, the Methodist local preachers, and the Emmanuel Methodist Church. The Busbys, Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families. To Mario Holly from your mothers, the siblings, the children, the family circle, Grace, Barbara, and Bundy, and myself. To Gladys Harrigan, Natasha Lake from your family circle, Gloria Horsford and family, and the UBR community. To Tamika Gums from your family circle, Wayne Gums, Alex Payne from the Busbys, Karen Nickel, Elva Claxton, Shamara Brooks, Rain Gums from your mother Telly, your brother, your aunts and uncles, Rosalind and Jasmine, your cousins Lynchy, your family circle, the clergy and congregation of the Pro Cathedral of St. Mary's, and myself. To Elvis Howe, Peter Williams, Melford Richardson, Boy Blue in St. Martin, from your family circle, Grace, Barbara, and Bundy, and Nurse Nanton. And to Kenmore Fleming, that's Mole, from your siblings, Mercedes, Lester, Vernon, Shelley, the family circle, the management and staff, clients of the JTC Senior Citizens Home, and myself. Wedding anniversary greetings extended for Sunday to Marcy and Alwyn Richardson, Kenrick and Diane Findley, from your parents, siblings, children, family circle, and myself, and all the other birthday and anniversary celebrants. Kindly keep in memoriam Rose Hodge, who would have celebrated her 103rd birthday on Sunday, that is. Also, Beulah Webster, both who would have celebrated their birthdays that day. May their souls rest in peace. Belated birthday greetings from Monday, July 13 is extended to Esme Gums of North Hill from your family circle, the Busbys, Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families, Lady Deesh and family. To Shelley Lloyd Richardson from your family circle, the Busbys, Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families, and myself. To Dawn Lloyd Gums from your family circle, Teacher Janice, the Busbys, Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families, and myself. To Jasmine Connor from the Clergy Senior Choir and Congregation of the Ebenezer Methodist Church. To Kylian Hall, Zornil Hughes from your parents, the siblings, the family circle, Michelle Richardson, that's Daddy Mitch, the Bryans, Christophers, and Simpsons families, the South Hill and the National Community, and myself. To Akima Williams, Shermel Brooks in the UK from your parents, Miriam and Shippy, siblings, family circle, Lady Deesh, the clergy and congregation of the Ebenezer Methodist Church, and myself. To John Joseph, Trisana Martin, Caleb Kendall, Oliver Laidlow, Pointy Willock, Minerva Baptiste, Carla Gums, and your family circle, Lady Deesh and family. Dacia Hodge, and all the other birthday and anniversary celebrants. And kindly keep in memoriam for yesterday Evelyn Thomas and Morgan Richardson, both would have celebrated their birthdays today. Yesterday, that is. May their souls continue to rest in peace. Over to you, Brother Hammer.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dinos Nanton, for so ably assisting and rendering this morning, presenting this morning on our program. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Enough love to you. All the best. Take care. Okay. All the best to you, Nurse Nanton. Have a great one. Thank you so much. All right. So, folks, we continue right now this morning. Let me continue right now here on a Tuesday morning. I want to now say good morning and happy birthday now for Tuesday, July 14th. We are now saying good morning and happy birthday going out here now to Sandra Richardson in St. Thomas from your mother, husband, junior, siblings, the parents and in-laws, and Joni and Christian, brother and sister-in-law, Terry and Joe in the family circle, and Bernard, Ellis, Gloria, and Vi, Jasmine, and also Sheila and Nurse Nanton. Wishing you all the best on this your day. Lyle Sasso. From your parents, your aunts and uncles at home and abroad, and the family circle, grandparents and Nurse Nanton, wishing you the best. Cleveland Richards, from your wife, children, the staff of the Lands and Surveys Department, Desiree Hennis, and the Lewis and the Brooks families, and also Nurse Nanton, wishing you all the best. Grace Carty, West End, happy birthday, Grace Carty, from your family circle. The Brands, the Christopher and Simpson families, and Paulette, and we have Imelda, and the clergy and the congregation of the Emmanuel Methodist Church, and Nurse Nanton. Elsbeth Hall, happy birthday from your cousin, Lady Dish, and the family circle. We also have Doran Lake from the Bryans, the Christopher and Simpson families. We have Herbert Richardson, North Hill, from your siblings, the family circle, the Busbys and the Bryans, the Christophers and Simpson families, the North Hill community, and Nurse Nanton. We have Kamari Gums, happy birthday from the Bryans, the Christophers and Simpson families. The Amethyst Saunders from your siblings and the children and the grandchildren, the family circle, teacher Janice Joyce, your friend teacher Joyce, and the clergy, the Aqua group and congregation of the Pearl Cathedral of St. Mary, the former commissioner and staff of the RAPF, Lisa and Nurse Nanton, wishing you all the best on this your day. Us on Klass FM radio as well. Amethyst, enjoy your day in a big way. Raphael Hughes, from your wife, children, your family circle, the Busbys and the Brands, the Christopher and Simpson families, and Stedman, Connor, and the community, and the Commandante boys, wishing you all the best on your day. Cleo Richardson, Eliquan Phillips, the Stanley Gums of North Hill, from your siblings, Benny, Lloyd, Carolyn, nieces and nephews, the family circle. Teacher Janice, the Busbys, the Brands, the Christophers and Simpsons families, and also Paulette and Imelda and Nurse Nanton, also on Klass FM radio, Brother Stanley. Enjoy your birthday in a big way, brother. We have Quan Carty from your family circle, Teacher Janice, and wishing you all the best today on your day. We have Nellie Babro. We also have Tasha Webster. Happy birthday from your family circle. Dorothy Richardson, Shaniqua Mussington, happy birthday from your family circle as well. And Lady Dish, and to Teacher Ron Connor, happy birthday, sir, from your family circle, teaching fraternity, and Jane Abbott, thank you for your service and education. Rhonda Connor from your family circle, Jane and Abbott, yes, as well. Captain Cutwin, we have Corwin Goddard, that a prick, the man that a prick, birthday today as well, that a prick one time. Captain Corwin Goddard, the man, aka that a prick from the Infusion Band, that a prick, he is celebrating birthday today as well, from your family circle, and Lady Dish and the musical fraternity, wishing you all the best on this your day. Kiara Richardson from the Brands, the Christopher and Simpson families, and Romeo Gums, the Ghost, okay, and family circle. And we have G-San Gums from Paulette and Imelda, wishing you the best. Charlize Fleming from your siblings and children at the family circle, and Nurse Nanton. We have Lion Angela from your family circle and the Angular Lions Club, and birthday, all other birthday and anniversary celebrants out there. Have a great one. Enjoy your birthday and your anniversary to the maximum, okay? And happy Bastille Day to all the French colonies, and citizens. Kindly keep in memoriam Walton Richardson, who would have celebrated his birthday today. May his soul continue to rest in peace. To the family of the late Sawyer Brooks and all who are bereaved at this time, we extend our sincere condolences. May their soul rest in perpetual peace and rising glory. The quote of the day. The quote of the day goes like this: life is hard, but it can also be beautiful. So focus on the little things that bring you joy, and you will attract more sunshine and into your life. Okay, by Roger Lee. All right, so folks, and so we are also so blessed to see another day of living. So do have a positive and thankful day from Teacher Janice, Grayson, Barbara, Bundy, Nurse Augustus, us on Klass FM Radio, Gabs Party Store, your family circle, and Nurse Nanton. Yes, and right now, folks, we're here, and the Klass of Every Morning Time. We are now going here now for okay, and All right. Okay. So Class FM here. Class FM in the morning time. We are now going to get into. We are now going to get into our um, today's SIP program. Today's SIP program while right now. So brought to you by Coffee O'Clock, the Caribbean Commercial Complex. Our producer and presenter of that program is Alma Franklin.
A blessed and beautiful day to one and all. Happy Tuesday to you. This is today's sip and is brought to you by Coffee O'Clock. Your word for today comes from Psalms 25, verses 4 and 5. And it reads, Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day. This is a heartfelt prayer for divine guidance and direction. The verses ask God to teach his ways, lead in truth, and provide salvation, acknowledging a complete reliance on him. The Word of God contains many passages on the leading of the Lord, highlighting his role in providing direction and guidance. Today, these scriptures offer comfort and wisdom for trusting in God's path, whether through the voice of the Holy Spirit, the comfort of the shepherd, or the clarity of his word. Today, I read to you some scriptures that will help you to understand God's will for you, his path that he has made for you. So meditate on these when you get a chance. And they are Psalm 32, verse 8. And it reads, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Isaiah 30:21, and your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, This is the way, walk in it, when you turn to the left or when you turn to the right. Romans 8:14, for all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. So as we see, these passages are the stepping stones. He wants you to understand the path that you supposed to take as being the children of God. So as you go about your day, meditate on these truths, meditate on the goodness of God, meditate on his faithfulness, and meditate on the love and the compassion and the way that he wants us to live, especially in these times. So as you go about your day, take some time to sip on his goodness, and do have a wonderful and amazing day. God continue to bless and guide you through your path of righteousness and truth. In Jesus' name.
Okay, and to let you know here that you can join us here. You can join us here. That's tomorrow morning around the same time for another presentation of our today's program, brought to you by Coffee O'Clock, the Caribbean Commercial Complex. Just to let you know that, right? So, folks, some Class FM in the morning time, and right now we're gonna get back to obituary messages, notes this morning here, and it's quite a bit that will come your way. So I'm going to ease out just around this time as well, but it's quite a bit. So you stand by, you hold the spot. You've got Class FM. Okay, what's happening here? Okay, so Class FM radio 92.9 here in the morning time. So let me just we now pause for these obituary notes.
It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of Devon Curtis Daniels, affectionately known as Beggar, who departed this life on Sunday, 7 June 2026. He was preceded in death by his father, Oliver E. Connor, his brother, Nigel Daniel, and his nephew, Shikari Bryant.
Left to cherish his memories are his wife, Mayanika Daniels, mother, Elvira Connor, children, Devante, Monicia, and Dion Daniels, grandchildren, Ilani Daniels and Ari Connor, special children, Sasha Rogers, Sakara Richardson, Jovan Papai Delaney, sisters, Carmen Daniel, Marvis Daniel Bryan, and Carolyn Daniels, brothers, Hilary Daniel and Kurt Hall, special brother, Sheldon Big Wheel Connor, special sisters, Shona Connor Warner, Shanika Brown, Shanella Brown Richardson, Jasmine Richardson, Trisha Richardson, and Denise Stanley, mother-in-law, Monica Richardson, father-in-law, Robinson Whitty Richardson, sisters-in-law, Sephra Paul and Sinead Marcella Richardson, brothers-in-law, Shefton Bryan, Hendrick Richardson, and Siobhan Richardson, nieces and nephews, Devani and Deja Richardson, Shellyanne and Shamari Bryan, Kareem Daniel, Kariko Carrington, Kurtisha, Kurt Jr., Corvin, Kurt Disha, Kurt Jai, and Kurt Decia Paul, great niece, Symphony Hodge, great nephew, Koshan Gums, uncles, Albert Daniel, Edison Richardson, Art Neil, Aurelia O'Reil, and Peterson Connor, William, Terence and Egbert Degu, Clayton and Obin Urban Connor, deceased. Aunts, Kathleen Hughes, Maureen Rogers, Oni, Lita, Gwen, Alvin, Romeli, Rosabelle, Jacqueline and Lucinda Dagu, Zenda Dagu Romney and Hyacinth Nicholas, Eva and Rubina Dagu, deceased. Uncles-in-law, Clevet Rogers and Dolphus Romney. Aunts-in-law, Veronica Vi and Judica Connor, Jacqueline Susie Dagu. Cousins, too numerous to mention, including Julian, Julius, Julene, Geneva, Justin, Jordale Hughes, Charlene Connor, Kedel Hodge, and Richelle Carty. Godparents, Danny Richardson, Isilma Joseph, Ethelyn Pradell, Maria Baker, Casilda Baptiste. Godchildren, DeAndre Carty, Miltasia Mercer, Quayshawn Richardson, and Raekwon Martin-Barrow. Special family and friends, Dillis Roberts, Monica Hard-Smith, Milt Mercer, Alwyn, Leonard, and Brian Richardson, Robert Mussington, Colin Liddy, Patrick Carty, Andy, Lyle, Mona, and Christabel Connor, Edwin and Dean Carty, Eunice Hernandez Carty, Patricia and Alban Garrett Roberts, Rita Warner Brown and family, Sharice Romney and family, Jenny Romney, Elroy Gums, Carol Webster, Althea Fleming and family, Reverend Wilmoth O. Hodge and family, members of the Maranatha Methodist Church, staff of Rebel Marine Boatyard, captains and crew of the Bluebird and ROBB and the Angular Boat Racing Fraternity, staff and patients of the Dialysis Unit, South Hill, Sandy Ground, North Hill, and Blowing Point communities. Many other family and friends too numerous to mention. He was related to the Connor, Daniel, Hughes, Richardson, Osford, Reed, Gums, Brooks, Romney, Carty, Bryan, and Mussington families. The wake will be held on Thursday, 16th July 2026 from 6:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. at the Maranatha Methodist Church, Blowing Point, Anguilla. The Thanksgiving service for the life of Devon Curtis Daniels will be held on Friday, 17 July 2026 at 10 a.m. at the Bethel Methodist Church, South Hill, Anguilla. Tributes and viewing of the body will begin at 9 a.m. to 9:55 a.m. Interment will follow at the Bethel Church Cemetery. The family wishes to express sincere thanks to everyone who have extended their condolences, prayers, and support during this difficult time. Special thanks is also extended to the doctors and nurses at the Princess Alexandra Hospital, Southern Medical Center in Trinidad, and staff at Angular Air Services. Your kindness, compassion, and unwavering support have been a source of comfort and strength and are deeply appreciated. If anyone was omitted, please know that it was not intentional and do accept our sincere apology. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
That is who you are, and you are Waymaker,
We regret to announce the death of Regna Rosalia Gums, who passed away on June 24, 2026 in St. Thomas, USVI. She leaves to mourn her daughter, Monica Gums, sons Cleophas, James, Roy, Roosevelt, and Dr. Leslie Gums. Sisters, Ann Gums, Daisy Jacobs, Marjorie Richardson, and Yvette Jepson. Brothers, William, Shepard, and Toby Gums. Sisters-in-law, Adelina, Harriet, and Veronica Gums. Trecelia Richardson and Adora Thomas. Brothers-in-law, Calvin and Stanley Gums. Daughters-in-law, Patricia, Sharon, and Shakila Gums. Grandchildren, Ayana Rogers, Kenita Webster, Jahani, Pamela, Paula, Rolene, Jennifer, Jason, James, Leslie, Semai, Yuri, Arim, Julian, Justin Gums, and Karine Bayer Harrigan. Nieces, Anne Shireen Gums, Apra Jacobs, Gillian Artson, Joyce Keene, Marcia Ripley, Sonia Martin. Nephews, Anthony Smith, Jay Jacobs, John and Terrence Gums. Great-grandchildren, Keontae Hodge, Tian Rogers, Jahan and Jamil Taylor, Cameron, Zoe, Zoya, Joquan, Asia and Jalissa Gums, Devani and Lorena Almanza, Lenicia and Lenique Gums Carty, Liam and Alec Gums Danso, Chastity Roker, Janessa, Jasmine, Janae and Jemiah Cooper, Janaya, Jaylene, and Jalen Niles. Other relatives and friends, Cecilia Bispam, Bishop Ambrose Gums, Sandra Liddy Gums, Lorraine and Hansel Hodge, Gretel and Wilmoth Hennis, Linda Hodge, Marita Smith, Janice Smith, Terry Tadman, Carol Carlwood, Nicole Friday, Kellia George, Sherna and Shauna Spencer, Alicia Gums, Kelicia Ruwan, Jamia Ashby, Jose Kian, Pamela Hennis, Bonadine Rumney, Alan Gums, Marva Gums, Merlin Rogers, Daphne Gums, Samuel Smith, Alan Webster, Karine Lake and family, Kathleen Liddy and family, Dana and Clement Ruan, Jennifer Bruley and family, Conroy Blaze, Antonio Rogers, Reginald Hodge, family of the late Beryl Hennis, family of the late Edna Amontradin of Little Dix, family of the late Mabel Gums of the Quarter, family of the late Bonnell Gums of Little Dix, family of the late Reverend Vanya Minez Hodge, family of the late Clorita Miss May Rogers of Shoalby, children of the late Irene, Walwyn and Manchester Gums, children of the late Kevin Gums of the Farrington. She was also related to the Reed family of Roaches Hill and Stony Ground, Lake family of Carl's Bottom and Wattis's, Hodge family of Stony Ground, Hosford family of Ray Hill, Rogers and Bryan families, and many other friends and relatives too numerous to mention. The viewing of the body of the late Regna Rosalia Gums will be held at Moran's Alternative Affordable Funeral and Cremation Services, Wall Blake, on Thursday, July 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. and at the church on Friday, July 17th from 9 to 9:55 a.m. The funeral service will take place on Friday, July 17th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at the St. Mary's Pro Cathedral in the Valley. To the bereaved relatives and friends of the late Regna Rosalia Gums, we extend our deepest sympathies.
The family of the late Eileen Campbell Gums of Blowing Point, Anguilla, affectionately known as Mom, Grandma, and Tanty, wishes to announce that a celebration of life service will be held in her honor on Saturday, July 25th, 2026 at 3 p.m. The service will take place at the Christian Fellowship Church, Blowing Point, Anguilla. Eileen was born on December 26, 1933 in Island Harbor, Anguilla, and later married and made her home in Blowing Point. She passed away on July 3rd, 2025, and now rests peacefully at George Washington Cemetery in Adelphi, Maryland. She devoted her life to faith, family, and service. She was a founding member of the Christian Fellowship Church, a gifted seamstress, and a loving mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, sister, aunt, and faithful servant of God. She was predeceased by her husband, Obed Hubert Gums, better known as Ebel, her sons, Stanley Matthew and Lincoln Webster, and her siblings, Oliver Lloyd, Evelyn Webster Thomas, Rufus Webster, Ethel Webster, Marjorie Webster Matthew, and David Webster. She leaves to cherish her memory, her children, Paul Webster and family, Dexter Gums and family, Irad Gums and family, Rynetta Fleming and family, Iris Harrigan and family, and David Gums and family. She also leaves behind more than 50 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Her surviving sister, Eunice Idris Fleming, the families of her departed siblings, extended family, relatives, and many friends throughout Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Thomas, England, and the United States. The family warmly invites all relatives, friends, and well-wishers to join them as they celebrate a life well lived and give thanks to God for her remarkable legacy. Immediately following the church service, everyone is invited to continue the celebration of Eileen's life at the Blowing Point ball field, where refreshments and fellowship will be shared. Again, the celebration of life service for Eileen Campbell Gums, affectionately known as Mom, Grandma, and Tanty, will be held on Saturday, July 25th, 2026 at 3 p.m. at the Christian Fellowship Church, Blowing Point, Anguilla, followed by a continued celebration at the Blowing Point ball field. The family thanks everyone for their prayers, love, and support, and looks forward to your presence as together we celebrate the beautiful life and enduring legacy of Eileen Campbell Gums.
My place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah. Didn't know today would be our last.
A life so beautifully lived deserves to be beautifully remembered. It is with deep sadness that we announce the death of Olive Constance Richardson, affectionately known as Tanty of Long Ground. She departed this life in the UK on May 9th, 2026 at the age of 97. She leaves to mourn her children, Amaret Hodge, Jeremy Van Hennigan, Winston, James, Rosalind, and Claude Richardson. She was preceded in death by her husband, Lawrence Richardson, and children, Philip, Roland, and Cynthia Richardson. She also leaves to cherish her memory her daughters-in-law, Shona, Sharon, Patricia, and Rosemary Richardson. Grandchildren, Charlton Thomas Hodge, Jason, Joanne, and Jermaine Hodge, Janice and Desiree Cox, Kalia, Sharicia, Kimberly, Kevin, Michelle, Callan, Alan, Claudicia, Shaquai, Shadik, and Claudianne Richardson, and granddaughter-in-law, Remy Savannah Richardson. Great-grandchildren, Kasia Hodge, Kadeem Van Hennigan, Miguel Eusebius, Kalia Jackson, Tayon and Tayshawn Reed, Janisha Hughes, Jacqueline, Evelyn Monifa, Rio Zane, Savannah Rain, Gabriella Grace, Dejanay, Kyrie, and Casey Richardson. The families of her late in-laws, Clara Nisi Gums, Norris Gums, Levi Richardson, and Marcus Van Hennigan. The families of her late siblings and cousin, Ernest, Maud, Edward, Irvin, and Leonard Richardson, Mary Brooks, Cyril and Stanley Hodge, Dorothy Bonnet, and Elmy Richardson. She also